Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our studio live here with Dr. Richard Hipp. Thank you very much for joining us. You just had your talk about SQLite, a little bit about SQLite, more about AI.
Yes.
Yes.
Or more about why people don't recognize that the SQL language, not just SQLite, but all implementations of SQL is in fact an AI.
That is actually a very fascinating notion. As probably a lot of people, did not think of it that way from that angle. So your talk gave me something really to think about how it works.
Think about it.
Yeah, it's very good. And as you said, you're open to having conversation. You asked the question why people don't use SQL a bit more. So you spoke a little bit about SQLite, but I'm curious about the history. Can you tell us why you came up with SQLite?
I was working as just a freelance application developer. This is back in the late 1990s into 2000. And I had to use SQL, and I was not a big fan of SQL. I didn't like it.
Okay.
And I thought it was goofy.
Okay.
But my client wanted me to use SQL, and so I had to do it. But we had the application I wrote for them worked great, but sometimes I would go to connect to their server, and their server would be down. And so my application had to pop up a dialog box that said, cannot connect to server. And I would get that bug report because it was my application that painted the dialog. And I thought, this is insane. Why am I depending on this third-party process that I have no control over? Why can't I have an SQL database engine that talks directly to the files on disk? So that contract was over, but I had some free time, and I said, well, I'm just going to implement this, see what happens.
Okay.
Because why not?
Why not? I mean, how hard can it be, really?
And it's turned okay.
Yeah, and I just put it out there as open source just as a curiosity, but for whatever reason, it went viral. And
I think I know the reason. It's a great tool.
Well, it wasn't, the first versions were awful, but it was an intriguing idea, and people took interest in it. And so there was the accolades that I got. You encouraged me to work on it more, and so I improved it. And after a while, I started getting calls from companies.
Okay.
And so, they'd call me, hey, we'd like to pay you to support your product. And I'm like, you can make money with open source? How does this work, really? They wanted a prize. I'll call you back tomorrow. I scrambled around and came up with some numbers, and this grew and grew, and I eventually gave up doing freelance development work, and now I've got a small team, and we support SQLite full-time. We've done that since, I think, full-time since about 2007. Yeah.
How does it feel to go back in time? For example, there's, I guess, some bug report. So you have to open some very old code dating back to 2007, for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't bring any, personal memories?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do that a lot. It's really, there's sort of a time warp. Some things stay in my mind, and they seem like they happened just yesterday. Then I'll go back and look, that was 12 years ago? But other things seem like they were so long ago, and then I look back and that was just in April. Okay. So I don't maintain a good chronology of when things happen. But yeah, we don't use Git for SQLite. We use my own version control system that I wrote myself.
Exactly. I
called
wanted to ask you about that.
But on the website, there's a link that you can go through that says this day in history, and it automatically goes back and shows you what happened on this day 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago. Yeah. And that's really interesting to see what were we doing 20 years ago today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because software usually lives for, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
There are very few products that outlive that time.
I have pledged to try and support SQLite through the year 2050.
Wow. And I've read, I don't know if it was on the SQL page, maybe on Wikipedia, that you are supporting 2 million test cases for when you're doing release.
I think it's more than that.
It's even more than that.
I'd have to go look up the number. Well, I mean, what do you call a test case? I mean, we have parameterized tests, and if you do all of those, it's going to be in the hundreds of millions.
So I'm curious,
but if individual handwritten test cases, I don't have an exact number right at hand, but pushing 100,000 or getting close.
Wow, that's impressive. That's super. So what I'm curious about is, was there a moment when you decided, hey, we need more tests, or is that something that you?
No, this happened kind of by accident. One of our early customers was in the aviation field, and they taught me about this aviation standard for safety critical software called DO 178B.
Oh wow!
And the testing standards for that. And I got a copy of that standard, and unlike so many other quality standards, this one's actually readable and understandable. And they had this concept of 100% MCDC, or modified condition decision coverage.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to do that for SQLite. And my theory was that I would then have these test artifacts that I could sell to other aviation companies and make money.
Okay.
That never actually happened. But what I found is that when you test things that rigorously, the bugs kind of stop.
Yeah, it does work. So
it does.
Everybody write your tests. And it works.
This was at about the same time Android was first spinning up, and they were using SQLite. And Android was sending us tons of bug reports. And as I moved it and brought the test coverage up to 100%, the bug reports from Android just sort of dried up.
Wow.
It really worked.
That's cool.
The other big advantage of this high intense testing that we do is that we can make radical changes to the code. We can refactor entire subsections of the code in a point release. And we don't really need to worry about breaking things.
How long does it take to run off all of them, like the full test suite?
Well, I've bought some like big servers with 32 cores and stuff like that. And so if you spread it off out of a bunch of cores on Linux, it takes a couple of hours. But then we also want to test on Windows, on Windows ARM, on Mac, on both ARM and x86. We test on PowerPC.
Wow, you test on PowerPC. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've got
test everywhere.
I've got a circa 2005 MacBook.
The last one.
Yeah.
G1 was.
I don't know. It was built in 2004, 2005, something like that.
Wow.
We keep it together and use that for PowerPC testing because PowerPC is a big Indian platform.
Okay.
And all the others right now are little Indian. We want to make sure that the software continues to work on big Indian.
Okay.
And also Raspberry Pi we test on, and of course,
so you have the older platforms and the new platforms. You're looking.
we want to make sure we want to make sure we work on everything.
Nice. I have many more questions, but we don't have time. So thank you so much for
having me.
being here. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.